Good evening, everyone. How the devil are we all? Hope you're all well. My name's Mark Smith. Tonight we'll be talking about the fantastic 1-0 win against Sheffield United and also be previewing this Saturday's away match at Stoke City. Our podcast, Sky Blue Fans TV, are proudly sponsored by the Sky Blue Tavern, Dylan's Brewery, Ivy Lucy Designs, CCFC Fan Store, CCFC Prints, and lastly but not least, Mr. View Sky. Tonight I've been joined by a fellow regular podcaster and member of the team, Reece Small. Reece, good evening. How are you doing?
Yeah, well, good, Mark. Yourself, all right?
Well, I think I did, as I said to you earlier before the show started, I didn't really get a lot of sleep because of the adrenaline of watching that game last night.
Yeah.
To the neutral, it probably wasn't that exciting a game, but to us, the supporters, it was. And to win a game was brilliant, as we will talk about in a bit. So let's kick things off tonight and let's talk about the last night's game. Let's start with, before the game starts, with the team lineup. One change was made. Michael Rose starting in place of Callum Doyle. Obviously, we had Gustavo Hamer available, but he was on the bench. What was your initial thoughts on the team and selection?
Yeah, I thought the team was what I was expecting, really. I thought Hamer was going to sit it out after. I don't think you could have, like I said, in the week, I don't think we could have dropped any of the midfield after the Cardiff game. So I thought it was the right decision. And to be honest, I thought Hamer would come on after an hour anyway to replace fresh legs. So, yeah, it was good to see Rose come back in. I think he had a good game as well, to be honest. I think he was one of the best players on the pitch. A lot of good clearances. He looked good on the ball as well. He was quite confident on the ball, bringing the ball out. So yeah, I thought it was the right team selection.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of no coincidence to me. If you look at the formation we play, I mean, if you look at the start of the season, we were playing with kind of four in the midfield with sort of one number 10 role, usually Casey Palmer fit, and two strikers. And now we've kind of gone a little bit defensive with the extra midfielder, but you look at the results we are yielding out of it. We're picking up points. We picked up 6 points now from maximum 6 points in the last two games. I think we look a lot better side. We look a lot more compact. Not pretty to watch, but we seem to be very, very difficult side to break down, which is great to see.
Well, yeah, I think we were talking. I think after the Norwich game, really, we were just leaking goals. I think we conceded 3 at Millwall, 3 at Hull. The goals were we were just really bad mistakes as well. It wasn't like a bit of quality. We were gifting goals, especially against Hull. We were just giving goals away. So I think Robbins has found a way to sort of stop the leak. And it looks like, to be honest, back at Norwich, I mean, we were speaking, weren't we? And doom and gloom. We couldn't see where the next win was coming from. And yeah, so it looks like we've gone to a sort of a plan B and it seems to be working. Yeah, like you say, the quality isn't as fast paced as it was last year, but this championship is hard, and we just need to take it game by game, not look too far ahead and just play, sort of adapt to the teams we're playing. And especially last night, I mean, I know Sheffield United looked like they had a lot of injuries, but I looked at their first 11 and I thought, well, that looks a strong 11. So if they've got a lot of injuries, I mean, it shows how big their squad is compared to someone like us.
I mean, you look at on the previous pod, I think my regular Sheffield United podcasters, the Travelling Blade, was saying they had 17 players injured, and
that's ridiculous.
Could you imagine our club with 17 injuries? You'd be playing like kids, people under 21s or 23s. It'd just be crazy. So I mean, it's a scary sight, but that just shows the gulf between where we are and where Sheffield United are. Obviously, they are a recently relegated Premier League side, so obviously they do have the parachute payments, I think, which is still applicable into their second season in the Championship. But that's kind of the golfing class financially. But that's the great thing about our team is that we rose to the occasion last night. Or Michael Rose, shall I say, as a pun, rose to the occasion. But
oh dear,
that's my attempt.
How long have you been holding on to that?
just thought it came to my head. I wasn't like something rehearsed. No. But yeah, no, I think it was okay. Let's just talk about the first half. So I think there's two things here. I think the first thing that all of us fans will talk about will be the referee in the game. Our friend, more mix-ups. Good evening to you. What's your thoughts on the refs last night? What's your thoughts, Reese? And I'll give you my thoughts. Should both teams finish with 10 men? So, Reese, what's your views?
Yeah, but I think the tackle on Dabo is very strong. I know it was getting a bit heated around that point, and I thought it was sending off. I thought it was this day and age you can't do that. And Dabo was very, very lucky that he got up from that. I thought that was a leg breaking tackle. It looked like he went in with 2 feet. So for me, that's a red card. And then all of a sudden, the ref was picking his card up for everything. I think Bidwell got booked, Sheaf got booked, then Dabo got booked again, and it looked like to be honest, the one in the second half, I thought Dabo was gone. I thought he was going to be sent off. And to be honest with you, I thought the first booking he had, his only booking he got, was less of a booking than the second one. So it just showed the inconsistency. And I thought the ref just completely lost control of the game, especially after the tackle on Dabo. I just thought he completely lost control of the game completely. And to be honest, we've been talking a lot about referees this season and the quality of them, or the lack of. And I thought he was the worst ref I've seen this year. He's awful.
I think the first thing, the referee, he seemed to miss, like, I'll talk about the fouls in a bit, but it was like we had a handball in the first half. I think it was on there. Number 15, and I just can't remember it. I'll look at his name. I think he was the guy who came in with Sheffield United at the back. Have a quick look now. I think it's Ahmedovich. Sorry, my pronunciation is pretty awful. But anyway, he controlled it, and it just hit his arm, and it looks. Everyone on the whole ground could see it was a blatant free kick. It was on their right hand side. Okay,
I think it was inside their half. Yeah.
And the whole ground could see it is the most blatant of handballs ever. And he just didn't give it. He didn't see it, nothing. It was just a ridiculously poor decision. Okay, that's only a small one. But let's go to the tackle on Dabo. I would say it's what I call an orange card offence. And what I mean by orange is some referees would deem that a red, and other referees deem it a yellow. It's one of those ones where he hasn't gone in over the top, but he has gone in with a lot of force and it was very reckless. It was definitely 100% a yellow, but there was an argument for a red. So I've got a little bit of sympathy for the referee in that one. It wasn't an absolute clear-cut red, but I could see why people would say it's a red. But it was one of those we could go 50-50, but I wasn't surprised he went the yellow option. I think if he's gone a bit more over the top, I would say definite 100% red. But
yeah,
that I think the Dabo one, I think we were very, very lucky because yes, I thought some of our.
I don't know what he was doing. He didn't need to go in for it. The second one.
The second one was like as fans you watch it and you're like, I'm really, really hoping you're not going to give a second yellow for this, and that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, he's going to go, and I literally was expecting the referee to show a second yellow and off he goes. Because if that happens, we'll probably lose the game, and that's a big moment in the game. Like yesterday, it's a tight game.
That's true.
And if we go down 10 men, I think it's around the 55th, 60th minute, around that sort of time. Realistically, we're going to probably lose the game. It's going to be tough.
Well, to be honest, I think at that time in the game, there wasn't really much that was going on. There wasn't enough quality in both of the attacking halves. I think a decision like that would have changed the momentum of the game, I think, and Sheffield United would have probably had a lot in their locker to get the goal they needed. But it's that Dabo, the tackle, going back to the tackle on Dabo, I'm pretty sure that was very similar to when Dabo got sent off last year. I think it was at home to Peterborough. Was it Peterborough? 1-3-0.
The one against Cardiff, I remember he got sent off, Dabo.
Right, yeah. He went in high, and he got sent off for that. So I thought it was a pretty similar tackle. So I think if we were having this conversation 5-6 years ago, I think we're talking a yellow card. But the game is changing, and I think there needs to be a little bit more clarity because it seems to be a bit of a grey area on what's a red and what's not. That's just my opinion. But I think, that 5-6 years ago, that's yellow card all day. But it seems to be there's a lot of red cards being given for tackles like that, very similar.
Yeah, I think I think that was the only yellow card they got, if memory serves me right, in the whole evening. I could be wrong, but we picked up about 4 or 5 yellows. I mean, one of them being Ben Sheaf, who's now suspended, which I think for 5 yellows, which is a big blow for us. Although, thank God we have got some players coming back. But I thought if we go to the game itself, the first half, I thought the first half was, I think for the neutral, was a very, very poor, low quality half. There was no real chances, was there? There was a lot of kind of shots that went miles over the bar, and really it was a pretty forgetful half. Really, it was probably the worst half of football I've seen this season. I thought I just felt we struggled going forward to get our game going, and that was kind of like that for the most of the 90 minutes. If you look at the game, we were very, very direct. We went very kind of route one. I think a lot of it's because Sheffield United play a really good pressing game, and it was similar to how Burnley were playing against us when Burnley played at CBS.
Yeah.
And I felt whereas like last season we were, you've got to be quite quick with your passing and the movement's got to be right to create that bit of space to get behind them. And I felt we struggled with that last night, and I think that's something we probably need to improve on, for the games ahead. But yeah, the first half, I don't know about you. I feel like the strikers are just a bit isolated at the moment. There's always about 2 or 3 players on Vic, for example. Godden's a bit isolated. He's not. I mean, from the games I've seen Godden play, he hasn't had any chances. I mean, you could say he hasn't done a lot, but he's had no service. He's had no chances. So you can't really criticise Godden. He's given 100%, but it's like, I just feel like that's where we miss a Callum O'Hare in that scenario, because he could make, he makes the right pass and he makes things happen. So yeah, that was for me the concern about the first half, the lack of creativity, lack of attacking threat. It's just non-existent for me. I don't know what your thoughts were.
I think Vic was clearly marked out of the game. They'd done their homework. So going back to what you were saying, with us trying to play the ball out from the back, I think with Wilson, to be fair to him, he gets the ball, and when he does, he looks to release it early. He wants to get the counter attack going, which I do like. But the problem we have is playing Allen in a number 10. You know what you're going to get from Allen, but he will not create any chances like a Palmer would, or definitely O'Hare. Even Hamer going forward has got that pass in him. So I think if you're going to play Allen, you're playing him for the reason of staying busy in the park and closing players down and maybe pressing high, that energy. But on the flip side, you're not getting that creativity. So the problem I've got with that is if you're going to play Allen in that role, you need another creative midfielder in there like Palmer, because Godden and Vic rely on that service, or at least that connection with midfield. And Eccles and Sheaf, I quite like that partnership in there the last 2 games. I think Eccles looked good. He looks a bit more confident. He looks fit now. So I like the way they're both sitting and holding, but also we need that going forward. And I don't see Eccles or Sheaf or Allen having that creativity going forward. And that's not Sheaf's game, I don't think. I think Sheaf is, like I said on Sunday, I think he's been our player of the season so far, but he's not that player that's going to drive the ball forward. He's going to link up with the next midfield players. So with Godden and Vic, I don't think that's working. In my head, I've been trying to be patient with it and seeing if it's going to click, but I think it's just not working. Vic, you know what you get with Vic. He takes the ball down the line. He drags defenders away. But it just seemed last night that they're not working. They're not linking up. They're two individual strikers playing with each other rather than them both linking up as a partnership. So that's the only sort of negative I would have, that I didn't see enough of us. There wasn't that quality in the final third, and that was the only concerning thing I had at half time, really, going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that is a problem. They're good. They're two good players, but they're two good strikers, but they're not best partnership, are they? It's just yeah. I think part of it though. I think part of it is the lack of creativity in midfield. I always feel like when we attack, we never seem to have many players in the box. I always say this every game I see us play. It's always like the two strikers, and that's about it. You might get a midfielder in, but that's another bit that frustrates me a bit. But
I think on the flip side, I think you're looking at that, and that's probably why we're not conceding many goals. 5 clean sheets in the last 6, and we've only conceded 1, against Burnley. So 1 goal in 6. I think you've got to take the rough with the smooth. But like I say, looking at that, we need. I know O'Hare's due back soon, but I wouldn't want him rushed back. But it's frustrating because I see Palmer, even when he come on again last night, he's got something about him, and he looks like he's got that creativity, and that he can open a defence out with a pass. So yeah, I can understand what Robbins is doing, because he sees that we're in the bottom 3, we're playing catch up, and he just wants results. So you start from the back, don't you? So
yeah.
On the flip side, yeah.
Yeah, but then I mean, second half was kind of much the same. I felt, if I have to be brutally honest, I'd say over the balance of the 90 minutes, you'd say Sheffield United probably had the running of the game. I felt they were probably the better side. I thought their striker up front, and I can't pronounce his name because it begins with N. I thought he was very, very good.
Yeah.
I thought it was class. I thought he was strong. He was skillful.
Very good.
And probably the best player on the field of play. Last night, I thought, to give him credit, I thought he was outstanding. But in fairness to our defence, I thought we coped with that very well. I thought all 3 guys at the back, Panzo, Fadzine, Michael Rose, again, a couple of the odd shaky moment maybe, but for the majority of the time, we were good defensively. We were solid, but we did ride our luck, didn't we? They hit the wheel a couple of times. I think one from a free kick hit the bar, and then
the post from McBurney, didn't they?
McBurney hitting the post, and that's where the luck's changing at the moment. Is coming in our favour. If you look at Cardiff, the offside goal, which probably was onside, but we got the rub of the green in that decision. We've got hit the post yesterday. We've had the Dabo, probably should have been second yellow, and it's in some ways it's quite nice. I just hope it continues, But you have to earn that luck, and I think it was one of those games yesterday. I mean, I've been to games last season, similar games where it was horrible to watch. I mean, I remember like Millwall last season at CPS. It was a horrible game, and we lost 1-0. But to come away from a horrible game and win is a really nice feeling. Did you ever feel the second half that we could get a winner, we could win the game, or did you think, I'm happy with the point?
I think the way the second half was playing out, I think you can say that Sheffield United were coming into the game, and they were, like you say, they hit the bar where Wilson was in a little bit of no man's land with that cross. They hit the post, but then you can look at it and say that we should have had a penalty, clear-cut penalty against Palmer. So, I think we had one shot on target where Hamer come on and tested the keeper from a tight angle, but I thought Palmer got taken out for a penalty. So on the flip side, Dabo, yes, probably should have been sent off for a second yellow. Their player could have been sent off on another day. They've hit the post and hit the bar, but I thought we should have had 2 penalties really. That one on Palmer, what do you think on that, Mark?
Oh, that was a stonewall penalty. I mean, to be honest with you, I couldn't understand why there was no uproar on social media, maybe because we won 1-0. But to me, that was an absolute stonewall penalty. Looked to me like he was caught quite late off the ball after just releasing the ball in box. I mean, again, what's the referee looking at? I mean, to me, that's a blatant penalty. And then the penalty we do get in the 87th minute, again, he's looking across to his assistant referee. Really, he's got to make that decision. You can see.
I didn't think he was going to give it.
No, he had a lot of thinking time. He took an age,
Yeah.
and then eventually he gave a decision, and it was great. I mean, that was the only time in the game where, we had that one shot from Hamer, which the keeper sort of saved for a corner. But other than that, that was the first time we actually got inside their box and looked a bit threatening. And we won a penalty. And you've got to give credit to Gyökeres again. His strength. He got himself in a position where the defender's is taking the risk in the tackle because he's worried about the shot. And you've got to give him credit for that. And also, obviously, Martin Waghorn, it's great to see him back in the goals because I know we've all been a bit critical of his contribution. But I thought last night he done well. And I think, in fairness, this season, I think Waghorn has done okay. I don't know what your thoughts are on Waghorn.
Yeah, I think to just go back on Vic quickly before I talk about Waghorn, but he could have Vic quite easily could have thrown his toys at the pram last night. He didn't get a sniff. He didn't get a sniff all game, and to see that one little moment where he managed to turn his defender, get inside the box, 85th minute, whatever it was, late on, and he got the penalty. So it just shows that he's give him a yard and he's dangerous. We could have easily have, he's shown that I think against Burnley his attitude didn't seem right. He can be inconsistent like that, but to show that you give him that bit of time, he can still hurt you. So yeah, clear-cut penalty. I think, and I thought it was brilliant the way Waghorn just grabbed the ball straight away and said, "I'm having this." And again, we were talking on Sunday about his character coming on against Cardiff and his professionalism. He could have easily have just been sulking, but just take his money home every week. But he seems to really, he showed real big character. I think to pick that ball up and say, "I'm having this." And to be honest with you, it was a great penalty because the keeper was, he was slightly off his line when he dived for it, so he got a lot of leverage to get over to that corner. And it was the only place Waghorn could have put it for it to go in. And to watch his celebration was brilliant. It was just pure relief that he scored. And I thought as well that his interview after the game was great because he was very self-critical of himself, where he said, I haven't scored as many goals, hardly anywhere close to the goals I wanted to score. I haven't been happy with my performances so far since I've been here. And I thought that takes a lot of credit for a man to stand up and say that. I think he'll win a lot of people over for that, because I felt that showing that character, because we see footballers as just footballers on the pitch. We don't really see what sort of people they are inside, because we can only judge them for what they are on the pitch. And for Waghorn to show that little bit of fighting spirit, I think he could be asking questions now to get more game time. I mean, obviously Walker's out of the picture for a little while being injured. O'Hare not quite ready to come back in just yet. He needs to be phased in. Godden a bit out of sorts. With Godden, we just need a chance to land on his lap, to be honest with you. As soon as Godden gets that goal, I think that his confidence will be back. So, yeah, for Waghorn, he's asking a lot of questions and he's pushing himself in a good position now.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Waghorn. I think it's good that players are self-critical because, it's all about personality, and I think his personality is kind of envisaged on the team ethic of the squad. Everyone. I mean, we always speak about team camaraderie, and I think we've got that in abundance in our squad. And
yeah,
I think he's I think from what I've heard of him, he's a really likable guy. I think he's very popular with the players, and he's got the right attitude.
You can say
and also, he's a team man as well. He's not just me. He's actually a team man. You see in games where he's actually shouting instructions like the manager sort of thing. So yeah, I think there's a lot to like about Waghorn, and I don't necessarily think he's he's not going to be starting many games, if I have to be honest, this season unless we have injuries. No. But I think he's as proven yesterday, he's a very useful guy to bring off the bench. I thought one smart thing Robins did do was subbing Dabo and then bringing Eccles into right back, because I thought that was a sensible decision, because you just felt that Dabo can be clumsy and, we're running the risk of a second yellow, and I thought that was a good decision. What about your opinion on Gus Hamer when he came on? Did you think he helped? Do you think his performance was good?
Well, we didn't get booked, so it was a good start. But I thought he done well. I thought he got a great reception and he responded to the fans. And I think at the end of the game, Upton sort of put his hands up as a bit of an apology, I would say. But he responded well. I thought bringing Eccles, taking Dabo off and putting Eccles at right wing back was quite a ballsy move, considering we've got Todd Kane sitting on the bench. So, Eccles was having a good game in midfield. So to make that decision and taking him out of the midfield and putting him at right wing back, especially the couple of games that Eccles has played right wing back this year, he hasn't looked that comfortable. So to make that decision on top of a natural right wing back of Kane on the bench probably shows where Kane is with us right now. I don't think the door's fully shut, but I don't think it's that far away. So I think that's down to Todd Kane, what he wants to do about that. We could talk about Jamie Allen this time last year. We're all saying he's finished at the club. Shipley, another one. He came back in and contributed quite well. Wakehorn now, we're talking positive about Wakehorn. So I think that's down to Todd Kane. But yeah, going back on Hamer, I think he just done the basic things well, found the right passes. The only thing I would say about Hamer that I've noticed lately is he presses high, which is great, but he presses high at the wrong times. And I think that he ends up taking himself out of the game very easily, where he can be played around, and then that leaves a bit of a gap. So I would say Hamer needs to be a little bit more disciplined, because, like you say, it's great to press high, but you have to you have to manage that when you're going to do it and choose your right times. And there were times when we were 1-0 up where Hamer was sprinting out, and then a player would then knock it sideways, and then it'd take Hamer out the game, and then he's got a 10-15 yard. He needs to make up. So it was good to see him back, and I think it gives us another option, especially with Sheaf now being suspended against Stoke. I think the natural thing is to bring Hamer in there, and it's looking positive. I think with Kelly and O'Hare coming back as well, that gives us a little bit more stability in that midfield, because I think we've got 5-6 games for the World Cup, and they're coming thick and fast. So we're going to need that midfield. We're going to need the energy, and having Hamer out for them 4 games. I mean, it might sound a bit controversial, but that might be a blessing in disguise, because he's going to have the minutes in his legs to. He's going to have the energy.
Yeah. I agree with what you say about Hamer. I think his defensive play is his weakness. And it's an interesting point you make about he presses too high, because if you think about the number of yellow cards he picks up, why does he get yellow carded? Because he's in the wrong position. He's
the wrong side of the ball.
He's not goal side of the attacker. So he brings the player down because he knows he can't get there, and he picks up a yellow. If you look at the amount of yellows he picks up, a lot of the times because he's in a poor position defensively, and as you say, the player he gets played through a bit too easy for me. I mean that then causes a problem for our defence. And I think he's great. He's got some great qualities. We know he's got a great. His attacking play is really good. His passing's good. His shooting's good. His set piece is really good. But that's the one area of his game he has to improve. I think realistically for Hamer, if he wants to be a top Premier League player, I would say that's the one aspect of his game I feel he needs to improve on to get to the next level. Which, and in some ways, and he's still young enough, and I'm sure he will do. But I think for me, if I'm Mark Robins, that's what I'd be saying to him. That's just my view. Because if I look at other teams, like the way when I was watching the Burnley game, the way they were pressing, they knew exactly when to press when we had the ball. I thought Sheffield United, for the most part, played that press pretty well. We struggled.
I think they did. Yeah, we couldn't play out from the back as well as we normally can. I think they nullified us quite well there, and I think that's why we were going long quite a lot. And I think there was a few times that Panzo was put under a lot of pressure and just hit and hoped, and it didn't help really, because you look at the goal we scored against Cardiff, and it was, you know, pretty much every player touched the ball, and it was great football. So I think teams like Burnley and Sheffield United came with a game plan to stop us playing from out the back, which takes away the build-up play, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think I felt last season we were playing through the press better because passing. I think we had different players last season, but I think with O'Hare, we seem to pass and movement off the ball was better. I think this season I've noticed a different. I feel like we're not playing as well. Like we're very direct. We seem to like our tactics seems at the moment is just to hit long to Gyökeres, and then Gyökeres has got 2 or 3 round him, and we inevitably lose possession, and then we're under pressure again. And that's the only thing I've been critical. And it's not just yet last night. I saw it against Burnley, and even second half against Borough. I'd say we were sort of like playing it long, and we were just sitting back and hanging on. But you know, I think let's look at the positives. We've got another 3 points yesterday. We've got players coming back, and I think at the moment, you know, there's a lot more positive about than we were at the start of the season when it was all doom and gloom. So let's get some comments up from people who've been very kind enough to leave some comments about yesterday's game. Official Flame Exports team, Esports team, shall I say? Good evening to you. Rose and Dabo look back to the form they showed in League One promotion season. Eccles was superb. He starts on Saturday for me. Dilemma regarding Palmer and Waghorn now for Saturday. I mean, looking ahead to Stoke game, I mean, what's if you're Mark Robbins, what do you do in terms of, you know, the team? Do you keep it a similar sort of side? I mean, obviously, but no Ben Sheaf obviously available to us. So, you know, what would you do for Saturday?
Yeah. I would be. The cliche is you never change a winning side. I think Waghorn come off with a little injury, didn't he? So I don't know if that's going to affect that issue of, you know, the question if he could be in contention to play. So I think we'll have to just see how that works out tomorrow and possibly Saturday morning to see if there's any news that comes out. But I would drop Godden and I'll play Palmer. I just think we need that bit of physicality, and I like the way Palmer is classed as a number 10, but enough gets stuck in, and he riles players. You know, he gets on defenders' nerves. You know, there's been a couple of times that I think he's got in the right areas in the box. He's got quick feet. Again, you know, last night he should have had a penalty. I think he needs to start against Stoke personally. And it just depends how the other players have come out. You know, if we've come out unscathed, I think we saw a little bit of fatigue kicking in at the end. So it depends how the players are when it comes to Saturday. If you want to freshen it up, maybe, you know, you drop Allen and play Waghorn. I don't know, but I would probably stick with the same side, apart from Godden, and probably give Godden a rest and keep him fit and ready for Rotherham personally, and I'll play Palmer.
Yeah. Well, I'm delighted to say we've been joined by a Stoke City fan who'll be helping us to preview the Stoke game. I've got Harrison Tew. Evening, Harrison. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Thanks. Thanks for coming on to our show.
No
Stoke City have had a kind of I guess last 5 games have had kind of mixed results, I would say. How would you sort of summarise their sort of season so far under Alex Neil?
I mean, it started off positive. Obviously, new manager bounce. Everyone's up for it. And then I think we got set back to reality very quickly when we got battered 4-0 at home to Watford. And I think it kind of took the wind out of us that day. I mean, we were completely off it, and it was quite a worrying sign, considering at the time Watford was still only mid-table, and they just got themselves a new manager. We went to Burnley midweek days after, and I think we picked up a point there where we did look a lot better. And I think since then we've gone on to beat Sheffield United, who were first, 3-1 at home in a convincing win. and then followed up by a good win at 2-0 at Preston the other day. So after those 2 games, we're 3 points off playoffs, and we've had 2 great games against some teams who are higher than us in the league. Players playing good, strikers scoring, just what we kind of need. We play Rotherham the other day on Tuesday, all over them. I think we had about 28 shots. We lose 1-0. So I think it was a bit disappointing, but I don't know. I'm quite confident for this weekend, but I guess we'll just see.
Any sort of injury suspensions ahead of this game from a Stoke point of view?
Obviously, we've got one of our main centre-backs, Harry Tutor, still coming back from an ACL. Recently played with the under-21s only for half a game. Apart from that, we haven't got any suspensions, and I think that's it injury-wise. Obviously, we've got Nick Powell, good player, just coming back last game. So hopefully he'll be starting this weekend, but I guess we'll just see.
And which player would you say has really stood out for you this season that's impressed you from the games you've seen?
I mean, I think it's got to be one of our defenders, and it's probably Ben Wilmot or Phil Jagielka. I mean, Phil Jagielka, he didn't play much up to the past few games till it was the Sheffield United game and the Burnley game, where he started. And we just look at how old he is, 40 years old. Like, how stable he makes our defence look is incredible. Like, we transformed our defence. We all look a lot more confident, and everyone else around him plays better with him. And then I think this season, Ben Wilmot's he's had a great campaign so far, and he's actually picked up a few goals on the way, which is always nice from a defender.
How's Dwight Gale been looking this season? Obviously, I think he's a new signing, wasn't he, from the summer?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been looking for Dwight Gale for the past 5 years, really. Obviously, when we first started looking at him, when he had that incredible season at West Brom, he's changed because he was a bit younger. He'd be behind, be the last man, he'd be running onto balls. Whether now he doesn't have that tiny bit of athleticism still in him, but he's yet to score. I think he scored 4 offside goals, which arguably weren't offside, but I guess that's just DFL officials for you. He's hit the crossbar a few times, and I think he's getting so unlucky, but he has picked up a few assists, and his work rate has just been helping us out so much. He's been tracking back, doing all sorts. So I'm not being funny. If he isn't getting the goals, as long as the goals are coming, I'm not too bothered.
Yeah. I mean, Stoke, what's the expectations at a club like Stoke under the Coates family? Is it, would you say, playoffs this season? I mean, or...
Yeah. I mean...
It's been a bit disappointing last few seasons, really, under obviously Michael O'Neill, and obviously Alex Neil controversially left Sunderland to come to Stoke. What's the kind of the modus operandi for this season? Is it kind of promotion or playoffs? What's a good season for Stoke in your view?
I mean, it's got to be promotion. If you look at our team on paper, especially, I mean, you could say our defence might need a tiny bit of work, but now we've got Jagielka and it's looking so much better. But the midfield and the attack on paper with Campbell, Fosu, Delat, some Premier League loan players there. Will Smallburn on loan from Southampton, Lewis Baker, obviously big player for us last season. Like, some of the players in that team are actually too good for the Championship, but they've been heavily underperforming, we think. So I think playoffs come the end of the goal, obviously, and I'm quite confident that'll happen under Neil.
And from what you've seen Alex Neil as a manager, tactically have Stoke changed their style of football, or is it kind of similar to Michael O'Neill, or what?
Well, O'Neill would play 3 at the back with 2 very high wing backs, and at times it would be a great formation. You'd go out and win 3-1, 4-1. But if a team came back and managed it and prepared for us to be like that, they'd go and beat us 2-3-0 because they knew what we were going to do. But over his 2-3 years at the club, he would not change it. And I think Alex Neil, he gave it 2 games, realised that was the problem, and he switched to 4-3-3. And I think it's changed us massively. But we still got powerful left and right backs pushing up the pitch. So we still got that wing back aspect a small bit, and then attacking, getting crosses in, but while keeping our defensive shape well. And he's been changing formation if needed during the game. So whatever happens, I think he's prepared.
Yeah, I think the only frustration for Stoke, I guess, is the inconsistent results. I mean, a team like Rotherham, you'd expect Stoke to win fairly comfortably, but I think I don't know what your views on the Championship overall. My view is that I think it's a division where anyone could beat anyone. It's not a division where even teams like Norwich, okay, Burnley have lost one game, but they're drawing a lot of games. And I think it's a sort of division where if you can get a run about, say, 4, maybe 5 games, get 5 straight wins, you've got a real chance of really making massive strides. It's a very open league this year. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, if you look at the league this time last year, you had West Brom originally starting off with Fulham and Bournemouth. They were just flying. And by this mark, they were kind of on their own. They were in their own league with each other. And then, obviously, you had Forest catch them up towards the end. But this season, you see Blackburn, they've actually got more losses than you guys. And one's top of the table, one's close to the bottom. The other day, it was 6 points separated first and 15th? Something stupid like that. If you saw Huddersfield last season, picked up a good run of form around that January mark and completely flipped their season on its head. So I think if you can be consistent in this league, it'll really work for you.
Yeah. I got a question here from our colleague Glenn Watkin. He's asking who's been your best signing so far this season?
Tell you what, you've got Liam Delap who's came in. Obviously, he's got a lot of stuff on his name, expected to perform. And what he has done is well. He's only got the 1 goal at the moment, but he's very physical for a young age. So I reckon he's been good. But I think we probably have to go with Fosu, I think, one of O'Neill's signings. And he's been playing on the left or right, and really under Alex Neil, he's just been showing his quality. I think he's on loan from Brentford, and you can kind of see how he was somewhat in a Premier League and Championship winning squad. He takes on players, not scared, and he can put a shot on as well. So I think whenever he gets the ball, all the fans get excited. So I'm going to have to say Fosu.
And in terms of the team lineup, expected team lineup for Saturday's game, any changes would you say from the game against Rotherham?
I reckon it'll be pretty much near enough the same side, apart from maybe Will Smallbone coming back from it was a very small hamstring knock apparently he had, which just missed them out of the game. And apparently he'll be back. Whether or not that's true or not, I guess we'll just have to see. Otherwise, it'll be probably the same team, I reckon.
Yeah. I think from a Coventry point of view, Reece, I'd say I'd probably keep it to 3-5-2. I think we were saying earlier you'd go one up front with Casey Palmer just playing off the front striker. Would you bring Hamer back to the side, obviously with the suspension of Ben Sheaf?
Yeah, I think that's the natural change. I think obviously unfortunate Sheaf's picked up his 5th yellow, so I think Hamer's slot straight in there. Would I play him in the holding role or Eccles? Not sure. I'd probably play Eccles in there, to be honest, and have Hamer play a bit more central, and if Allen's going to play as well. But it depends. Just a question. What formation should we look out for? What Stoke normally play?
I reckon we'll be playing 4-3-3, to be honest with you, because when we've used it against Sheffield and Preston, and to be fair, against Rotherham the other night, we've been creating so many chances. Obviously the other day at Rotherham we had 28 shots, 13 or so on target, and we just couldn't put them away. So I reckon it'll be 4-3-3.
All right. So yeah, our 3 at the back will probably end up being the 5 at the back, because the issue we've got this season, we had Matson last year, is more attack minded, and we had obviously Dabo gets forward, but I think Bidwell is naturally a more defensive minded as a wing back, so I can see us slotting with I think that's what's been key to us with our clean sheets of late, and our trouble obviously not scoring as many goals is because they're more defence minded these days, our wing backs, so they slot in quite well and we're hard to break down. So then obviously with the midfield trying to link up with the strikers, we struggle because we haven't really got that width. I don't know what you think about that, Mark.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you compare this season with last season when we had Matson was probably a better player going forward from Bidwell. When first to Bidwell, I think he's done okay. He's probably one of our most consistent performances this season. But I think Bidwell for me is really good defensively. he's a very disciplined player. I think looking ahead to the game itself, I think it will be a tough game. But the only thing that gives me confidence, I guess, from a Coventry perspective, is the fact that our recent record at Stoke hasn't been too bad. We won there 2 seasons ago, and we obviously got a draw last game of the season. I still think those Stoke will be a dangerous side. I think. Would you say, Harrison, do you still feel Stoke have underachieved so far this season under Neil, or do you think it's just kind of work in progress?
I think it's still in a work in progress. I mean, to be honest, if we won the other day, I'd probably be saying right now it's promotion. Therefore, we'd be pretty much in the playoffs. But losing 1-0 to Rotherham, if you look at the grand scheme of things, we played probably one of our best games, and it just came down to their keeper had a great game. And they scored early on from a scrappy goal where Phil Jagielka had to go off just for an injury, just for a few minutes. So, I mean, it just came down to potluck that day. But, I mean, I'm not too sure, I guess.
Yeah. I'm under no illusion. I think it's going to be a hard game. I would personally go probably 3-5-2. I wouldn't change too much from a Coventry perspective. I think one other positive I would say though, Reece, is that potentially you've got O'Hare and Kelly on the bench as well, which would be really good. Potentially, could you see them featuring this Saturday?
I think Kelly will. Yeah, I'm not sure on O'Hare just yet. He's had 45 minutes in his leg, so I personally wouldn't. As much as we all want to see him back and we're desperate for him to come back, all it takes is one overstretch and his hamstring goes again. So I think he needs to be eased back in, but to have him on the bench will just give everyone a massive boost because we know how good of a player he is. And I just wouldn't risk him just yet. I think we've got a lot. We've still got Palmer who can offer a lot, who's been given sort of limited opportunities, shall I say. So I think I would stick with Palmer. With regards to O'Hare, I wouldn't want him risked. But looking at Stoke lately, I think they're looking a more well drilled side. I think the game, the last game of the season, I thought we were the better side. We come away with a draw, and the season before it wasn't that the Ben Wilson worldy save.
That's right.
And I think we won 3-2 on a cold night in Stoke, wasn't it? Apparently.
Well, yeah.
So it's. I think it's. We're going to have it's going to be we're a different side from last year. We know that, and I think Stoke are looking at I've just got their squad up here, and the attacking players that they've got at their peril. I think it's going to be a very tough afternoon for us. And it looks like they've got some good. I think it's Baker, isn't it, in midfield? Is your top scorer?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a very tough game, and I'm going to do a U mark. I think I'm going to probably sit on the fence and go with a draw. I'll be well happy with a draw.
Yeah, I think it's a sort of game. I think any point is a good point. Would be too disappointed with a point. I think we're good enough to do that. So I'm going to go 1-1. I'm also sitting on my proud fence because it's one of those games. I think it's like every game. It's all about the first goal. But I think the fact that Stoke lost in midweek has given me a little bit of encouragement. But as Harrison has pointed out, it was probably Stoke's best performance. So I think Stoke are a very, very dangerous side. I think they'll be a little bit disappointed where they're on the league. But I think given the fact that it's a very, very tight league, I think there's a lot of football to be played. I think the way we're playing at the moment, we go to the game with confidence. There's no reason why we can't go there and get a result at Stoke, if I have to be honest. But me being a slightly class half empty person, I'm going to go for 1-1. So Harrison, what's your view on the prediction?
I feel like there'll be quite a few goals in it. Obviously, you've got Gayokas up front, who's scored quite a few goals for you already this season in the limited games he's played. Obviously, he came to Stoke last season, final game of the season, and he bagged a very well goal. So I reckon there'll be quite a few goals in it. But I am still confident. I feel like it's obviously in this league, it's still first goal because you've got some teams like Rotherham the other day. If they scored first, we'd have to get 2 goals until they'd be forced to come out. because obviously once they're losing, they wouldn't just continue sitting back. So it'll be hard to like break them down. So I reckon if we get the first goal, be completely on the right foot, fans will get behind everyone, and it'll be a tough game for you. But I mean, if you get the first goal, I reckon all our heads will drop. So I'm going to go for 2-2.
So it says 3 draws here. So I hope, you never know. It could very well be. I think it's a game to look forward to, and hoping that obviously from our point of view that Coventry win, but let's see what happens. Want to wrap up and thank our guests tonight. Thank you, Reece Small, once again for your contribution tonight. Harrison, good to have you on, and look forward to hopefully getting you back on later on this season for the return game at the CBS. So thank you for your contribution tonight. So next show up will be on Sunday, 7:30. We'll be reviewing the Stoke match, hopefully will Coventry City win, and then we'll be previewing the game. I think it's Wednesday night against Rotherham in midweek. So stay tuned for that. Thanks everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. Play out Sky Blues, and we'll speak to you on Sunday. Good night.
Right, Sky Blues.
Cheers.